Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Monday, the 18th of September. With McShane, we're working our way through 2 Samuel, following the story of David. Today, reading chapter 14. The background to it is one of David's sons, Amnon, fell in love with a half-sister, Tamar. And he wangled things so that she was alone with him, and he raped her. Her brother, Absalom, was incensed, and David did nothing. A while later, Absalom had an opportunity and he killed Amnon for what he had done because nothing else had happened. And then Absalom ran away. And 2 years later, Joab gets involved and says, we need to bring Absalom back. So he persuades the king. And in verse 23 of chapter 14, we read, Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. Restoration, but not quite. Continue. But the king said, he must go to his own house and he must not see my face. So Absalom went to his own house and did not see the face of the king. And so David brought Absalom back, but only semi. And he had no real grounds for doing that. And it ended up that Absalom got hold of Joab, burnt his fields to make him listen, and Joab went and said to the king, Absalom wants to see you, and they were finally reconciled. And I read that, I thought, here was David having all sorts of ideas. He's not going to see my face. There's no biblical warrant for that. That's not part of what God had said. And the problem was that once David had started breaking God's commands, he let the whole thing slide. He never dealt with Amnon as he should have. He didn't hold him accountable. And so Absalom acted instead and got things wrong. And David then got things more wrong. We see it time and again where we don't do what we're supposed to do. We create problems. And so often people think, oh, I don't want to do that because it'll create hard feelings. That's not going to be nice. Sometimes upholding God's law isn't nice, but it's right and it's the best. And over the weekend, Arnold Moll reminded us that God doesn't give us commands to limit, restrict, and impede us. He gives us commands for our own good, in exactly the same way that you tell your child, no, you may not touch the kettle when it's boiling. You're not spoiling their fun, you're protecting them. And so as God gives us the commands, and you read through the 10 commandments, God's protecting society, he's protecting individuals, he's helping us to be able to achieve the best that we can, to reach fulfillment, not to limit us. And when we try and break the commandments, or when we don't live by the commandments, when we try and go our own way, as it looks like David did, down the line, it will always come back to bite us. Because God made us, God knows what is best for us, what works, what doesn't work. And so it's a real challenge to me to read God's word and walk in his ways, knowing that is the best for us, for society, for everybody. So be encouraged as you do the same, knowing that as we do that, we are blessed by God.